Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Define Disaster. This is Battlefield 1. In today's weapon review, we're going to be taking a closer look at the Mondragon Sniper DMR, available, of course, exclusively to the Medic class in Battlefield 1. We're going to be looking at its base properties, its stats, how to most effectively use it on the battlefield, and what traits of this weapon you will have to take into consideration when trying to get the most out of it. Now, as per usual, of course, we're going to be starting off with the stats of this weapon today, and that starts off with the damage model with a maximum damage of 40 and a minimum damage of 35. This DMR is a guaranteed 3-shot body shot kill at all ranges. Furthermore, does quite a bit of extra damage. In other words, in close quarter, if your target is at 80 health, he's a 2-shot kill, and at further ranges, he's a 2-shot kill from 70 health or below. It's pretty good. It's always nice to have a gun that does a little bit more damage, meaning that targets that have been weakened slightly may suddenly require a bullet less to kill. In other words, being killed much faster, which is always a good trait to have. Furthermore, then we have the fire rate at 257 rounds per minute. This isn't exactly slow, but it surely isn't fast. On the other hand, this DMR is not meant to necessarily compete exclusively in close quarter, more geared towards the medium to long range, where fire rates are more generally lower than maybe the other guns that you would find in close quarter in the DMR category. An example of those, for example, being the auto-loading 8.25 extended. This gun is more meant for a more versatile combat range, and thus the fire rate isn't as high, which puts you at a disadvantage in close quarter, but at longer ranges it is still unparalleled practically in the amount of damage it can do out when compared to most other DMRs. With that being said, let's move on from the fire rate to the magazine size. A little bit smaller than maybe something like the Selbstlade M1916 Marksman at 10 shots. It's going to be easy to run out of bullets with this, and especially if you get into a more close quarter situation, you're going to have to pay attention to keep your magazine necessarily topped off, because 2 targets can easily eat those 10 bullets, and you don't want to be in a position where you've only got 6 shots left and 2 targets to kill, meaning that basically you miss 1 shot, then you're not going to be able to finish them off with your primary weapon. Furthermore, then, I thought we mentioned it. This is, of course, a talk about DMRs. Muzzle velocity is important, whereas not vital, as with sniper rifles. It's got a muzzle velocity of 800 meters per second. This is fantastic. Means you won't have to lead your targets too much at long range. Nevertheless, this is not an op in CSGO. You will have to lead your targets at longer ranges, and you will slowly but surely have to learn how to use this weapon at longer ranges effectively. Moving on then to reload times. This is a little bit more interesting with the Mondragon than some of the other medic weapons we've previously covered, because they're not magazine fed. This one is actually single bullet fed or clip fed. In other words, we have another complex collection of numbers that represent the actual reload times that can very much vary. We've got pre-reload delay, post-reload delay, single bullet reload, bridge delay, strip reload time, and altogether they come up with some form of reload time for each different reload that you do. To keep things simple though, to reload a single bullet, just one, you're going to require 2.067 seconds. For every bullet you add onto that, you will require a further 0.567 seconds. This means that, for example, if you were to reload 4 bullets, you would require 3.768 seconds, closing in on a 4-second reload. Lengthy, that's for sure. If, however, you reload 5 bullets, you will reload a strip clip. That's to say, because of course the strip clips are 5 bullets in total, which means, for example, if you've got 5 bullets left trying to reload your gun, you'll actually be able to reload those 5 bullets within 2.633 seconds. Now this of course gets a lot more complicated when you start reloading, for example, 6 or 7 bullets, because then you have an addition of the single bullet reload time or 2 bullet reload time plus a strip bullet reload time. So you can work it out roughly for yourself. Those are the 2 most important numbers that you need to know. In essence, however, this gun will have to be reloaded frequently because it only has 10 shots, and reloading it will take quite a bit of time, especially when you consider the fact that you have to more or less keep this gun topped up. You can't really run around with half ammunition, half a magazine, or only 5 bullets in your gun, because that will only be good for 1 target. If you come up against 2 targets, you're going to need those full 10 bullets that you have, and therefore running around with a gun that isn't fully reloaded, unlike with some of the other DMRs where you can do that because they just have enough munition in every single magazine, it's advised that you will have to reload this gun quite a bit. So be aware of this. Managing the reload on the Mondragon Sniper is one of the key factors or difficulties in making this gun effective. If, however, done so and played maybe not too aggressively, you should be able to get this gun to work quite successfully for you. However, playstyle is a matter for later on in the video. Firstly, let's talk about the recoil of the Mondragon Sniper. We've got a recoil here of 1 vertical and 0.32 both to the left and to the right, with a first shot recoil multiplier, unsurprisingly of course for a DMR, at 1. Overall, it's a DMR. Recoil isn't the most important of things. It does have quite get a bit of shake, then again, it's nothing that I find too disturbing. I can use DMRs quite well despite them having more or less recoil. In the end, it's more down to you placing your shots accurately, then you shouldn't have to spam fire the weapon too much in your enemy's direction. Next up then we have the accuracy of this weapon. Now it has a base ADS of 0.12, very accurate, similar, actually identical to the Selbstlade M1916 Marksman. The only point that I actually want to make about the Mondragon that is different from the usual kind of DMR category that we're looking at, the more long range, medium range, flexible DMRs, is that it's got a higher spread increase per shot, which means the penalty for spam firing or firing at the fastest fire rate you can, the Mondragon Sniper, is higher than with some of the other DMRs in this class. Its spread increase per shot is 0.25. That in itself can make the difference between hitting or missing a shot at medium to long range. So if I can give you a little bit of advice, never use the maximum fire rate of the Mondragon Sniper unless you're in close quarter combat and you're trying to hip fire down somebody. Basically at medium to long range, give it a bit of a rest. Give brief breaks between firing single shots so that not only you can basically adjust your accuracy, make sure you're shooting your bullets where they should be going, but also so that your spread of your weapon remains minimal and you've got a higher chance of hitting that target. Last on the topic of accuracy, of course, we will, as per usual, give you the usual hip fire accuracy. So hip fire while standing and moving at 3, good enough for close quarter situations. Nothing beyond that, that's no surprise. With all that being covered now, how does the Mondragon play out in practice and how do you best use it? Well, basically, you use it similar to the Selbstlade M1916 Marksman that I recently covered in a video. It is actually a contender to this gun, and we will be doing a weapon duel between the two in the near future. However, the difference to this weapon, and especially interesting or important for this weapon, is you have to watch your reload timing. You have to watch how many bullets you have, and make sure that you're not too aggressive with this weapon. You simply don't have the ammunition capacity or the quick reload to deal with 3 or 4 targets by simply ducking behind cover real quick. On the other hand, the weapon is very reliable. If you know how to use it, you make sure you don't fire it at the maximum fire rate and you don't necessarily charge into an entire squad of enemies, you will consistently be doing well with this weapon. It's got a high muzzle velocity, it's got a decent, very good actually damage output with a decent fire rate despite the fact that you can't use its maximum fire rate, and if you're accurate with your shots, you should find the 10 bullets to be sufficient to take out 2 targets each time. So the Mondragon Sniper is a good weapon. Is it the best weapon in the medic class? Well, frankly, that's a very difficult question to answer because there's such a huge variety of the weapons. The Mondragon Sniper is relatively versatile for the DMR class, which is kind of surprising given the fact that it does maybe struggle a little bit in close quarter because of the amount of damage it can output and because of its reload time. Nevertheless, most DMRs in Battlefield 1 are not quite as flexible as they were in previous Battlefield games. They have damage models that either favor a very close quarter approach or maybe a more long range approach. Like this one, have the advantage of using a DMR that's good as long range is frankly it will still put out that damage in close quarter. You may just have to consider the fact that some of your enemies will be having better weapons. So feel free to leave your opinions on the Mondragon Sniper down below in the comments, your experiences. I enjoyed using this weapon. I still do enjoy using this weapon. I wouldn't however say necessarily that is the best sniper rifle. Frankly, the reloads piss me off a little bit. Constantly having to reload this gun can become relatively tiresome. Thankfully, however, DICE did put some fantastic reload sounds in the game to make it a little bit more of an enjoyable and satisfactory experience. With all that being said, however, as said, leave your comments, your experiences down below. Also, leave your Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 4 video suggestions down below in the comments. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 1 video.